I was told, just like any other job, I'm assuming like any other job, I've never actually really had a proper place of employment, working as an employee somewhere. So I assume it's just like any other place, with HR, and I was called and informed that it would be my last day working for the WWE. It was the selfie. Yeah, I mean, look, there's positives and negatives of any job, and I know that's going to sound like a politician's way to answer that question, but it's true. Life's really, we all want good things out of life, but a lot of times life comes down to like the problems you want to put up with. Like for a long time, on Independence being almost like a starving artist, that was my problem. Was I was broke and working for next to nothing and nothing. I started working for WWE, and that was no longer my problem. My problems then became different things, as far as the creative process. And, for me personally, I'm a guy that I have a certain style. I always have since I was a kid. It's not like, it's just I like to dress the way I dress. I like to kind of act the way I act. People have called me eccentric and things of that nature. And that's a part of me that really had to be turned down and toned down in my time in WWE, and that was something that I was having a growing intolerance for. I wanted, from honestly since the day I got there, I wanted to be able to be judged on the content of my creativity and of my work, and not necessarily what the color of my tie was that day. Right, no makeup. One day I came in and I had makeup on like from the weekend, and there was still like a little bit of eyeliner in there, and I was called Jack Sparrow by a few different higher-ups. So it's interesting. I mean, I had to prove myself all over again, just like anybody else that comes to WWE. Just like AJ Styles, didn't matter what he did anywhere else. When he came into WWE, he had to prove himself, and I had the same thing. Now, I think there was a lot of guys that were happy to see somebody with a professional wrestling background there, but I had to prove myself all over again. But it's interesting when you talk about character work and things of that nature. Honestly, we do 6 hours of live television. WB does 6 hours of live television in arena every single week at least, and there's not a lot of time to just like, hey, let's work on character stuff. Once you're in there, you are in the lion's den, and if you don't kind of know what you're doing, you're gonna get eaten up alive. There's not a whole lot of time to really, produce guys a lot and be like, hey, what if we try this? It's like, yo, those TV days, when I first got there, I was amazed by all the moving parts and all the different people and everything that had to come together. I was amazed that we could put on a 3-hour live Raw every week. It's a machine. It's also a living, breathing organism when you're at the TV. So yeah, it's chaotic. You gotta be able to hold a microphone and talk. And I can only do so much for you. Tonight I'm here at Demand Lucha. This is my first wrestling match in over 2.5 years. I'm here in Toronto. When I got fired, I wasn't upset at all, not even a little bit. I appreciate it when fans would say like, oh, I'm sorry, and all my response was thank you, but I'm not. I wasn't upset at all. I kind of had my fill with WWE, and I saw my time winding down there probably within the next year anyway. I did have a little anxiety over like, oh, what do I do for money now? I had a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks no matter what before, and now I don't. But that, whatever anxiety I did have, was quickly subsided by the amount of, the companies, the people that reached out to me, a lot of the goodwill I had built throughout the years from companies I worked for and new different companies. And maybe that's just for this 15 minutes. Maybe talk to me in 16 minutes and I'll be begging to work for, hot dogs and T-shirts again. But as of today, I'm doing all right. I'm going to miss my friends. there. I'm going to miss Kevin Owens. I'm going to miss Sami Zayn. Those are the guys. Those are the people. I'm going to miss some of the writers too, man. We're a tight crew, but life goes on. But really, Kevin and Sami were like my rocks there. Every Tuesday, the three of us were together and we got to work together. And I mean, those are guys that, I've known those guys for 13 years, 12, 13 years. And there's no greater bond, I think, between two people that I've met in my life. There's no greater bond that you get from starting at the bottom and then getting to the top together. So it meant a lot to me to work for WWE. It meant as much to work there with my friends. If my friends weren't there, so I'm gonna miss them. When I got the job as a writer for WWE, it was a job that I was actively seeking out. About, I'd say in July of 2014, I kind of had this epiphany and a sort of spiritual experience that's sort of where I was meant to go and what I was meant to do. And I made a few calls, and it's funny, as a wrestler, I'd sort of beaten my head up against the wall for so long, and just the wall wasn't coming down. And then I thought, oh, maybe if I just go into creative, and I just moved over and I just opened the door and walked right in. It was a real straight shot. Look, you have opportunities there to get your ideas through. I mean, there's so much content. There's so much content that WWE does. You'll have the opportunity to get your ideas out there, but the creative process is a huge process. There's a lot of people involved, and it's ever changing. I mean, that's the thing with doing a live show every week, is that it has the opportunity just to change at the drop of a dime. So you can't get married to anything in your ideas. You can't get married to your words. Just you have to learn to be adaptable and go with the flow. When you're in WWE, like I said, I keep talking about how much content we produced because it's a lot. It's so much content. I didn't have time to see what else is going on out there. Whatever I saw in the independents, I just saw scrolling through my social media, what people are talking about on Twitter. That's about it. So I'm coming back to a scene that I'm not familiar with. I don't know who's out there, what's out there. I was surprised, when I got fired, people kept saying to me, the state of the independent wrestling right now, it's great. It's booming. A lot of people are doing a lot of good business, and I wasn't even really aware of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing guys out there that I haven't seen before, which is weird, man, because I worked on the independents for 16 years, and it's weird to think that now there's this new crop of guys that I don't even know. Honestly, man, not a lot of people go out at WWE. It's a very tame. It's a tame atmosphere there as far as the going out, the partying, and it's the place is WWE is very compartmentalized. The writers hang out with the writers, the wrestlers hang out with the wrestlers, the referees hang out with the referees, the producers hang out with the producers.
We see what happens when writers hang out with wrestlers.
Exactly. Okay, I'll say this one story. This is my. It was my first week on the road. And it was a local loop. So we were just driving for the longer loops. We would have a tour bus, right, for the riders. But this was local. And we just had cars. So it's my first time on the road, and I see Seth, Seth Rollins. We go way back. We're at ringside, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to ride with me to the next town?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So at the end of the night, I'm in the writer's room, and they're divvying up the cars, all right, you guys ride here, you ride with this guy. They're like, all right, Jimmy, you're with them. I'm like, actually, I'm riding with Seth. And they're like, oh, look at him riding with Seth. Oh, they were saying it jokingly, but not jokingly. So a few seconds later, I'm outside the writer's room, and I go to Seth, and I'm like, hey man, I don't know if I should ride with you. They're giving me shit. They're kind of joking, but I feel like they're kind of not. And Seth goes into the writer's room. He's like, hey, you marks, he's riding with the champ tonight. Fuck you. And he walks out, and I'm like, ugh. And I rode with him. And then I got a lot of talking to the next day about the office can't ride with the talent. So You can follow me on Twitter at JimmyJacobsX. You can follow me on Instagram at JimmyJacobsX. You can also go on ProWrestlingTees.com/JimmyJacobs and buy my t-shirts because I'm unemployed now. So you should buy my t-shirts. You know, you can get the one with the selfie of me and the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club. It's so unprofessional.